tutorial, and it was kind of just I realized like, wow, now I can kind of craft a vision from the ground up. As a designer, it's always your job to communicate an idea or a concept as concisely, as clearly, and as interestingly as possible. It's just like good food. Good design is just the basics boiled down to what they're meant to be.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the KDigitals Podcast, where we dive into artists, their origin, and their process. Joining me today is Mr. Greg Diaz. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. Like I was just saying, I'm just excited. Super excited to talk to you. We have a history. The people don't know that yet, but they will soon. But we have a history, so it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, exactly. So for the people listening, me and Greg go back a few years. We both used to work at a startup in Silicon Valley doing, app optimization, app marketing. Greg was a designer on the team. I was in biz dev. Anyone that's in the podcast probably heard me bring up this startup a few times. Anyone that's on a shoot with me has definitely heard me bring it up. But I'm excited to have Greg today because we were pretty busy back then. I couldn't really just sit him down and talk to him for 2 hours and try to just learn everything I can about him. But now we have a platform for that. So
here we are.
So on that kind of tabling off that. So like I said, you were a designer at the company. But for this podcast is tied to the individual. So for you,
for sure.
Do you brand yourself as I'm a graphic designer? Or are you more like a calligraphy artist? Or are you more a regular, how do you define what you do when you're walking on the street and someone's like, hey Greg, what do you do for a living?
I prepared for this because like I said, I listened to you. I know what questions you ask.
For sure.
Yeah, for the longest time I struggled with that because I guess you could say I started off as basically just a graffiti artist. That was way back when. Really? So I've gone through so many. Oh yeah, if you want, we can go into my whole origin story. But as of right now, I definitely brand myself as a graphic designer. I've gone through so many different phases: graffiti artist, calligrapher, designer, artist. But now I think graphic designer is just a really easy way to say it. Organizing information.
Okay. Wait, so for sure. Let's talk about the graffiti part. I didn't know about that. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me start kind of at the beginning. I won't take too long with it, but it starts even before graffiti, really. So graffiti started in maybe 5th or 6th grade. But before then, way back in my family, my great grandfather, he had a hand painted sign business back in the 50s in Virginia. And it was one of the longest running in America. So he was super successful with it. And he started basically when he was a kid, and he was just grinding up bricks to make red paint. And so that kind of business art sort of mindset was passed down to grandma, which passed down to my mom, which was passed down to me. And that's kind of how I picked up lettering in the first place. My mom taught me calligraphy when I was younger, which was through the chain of coming from my great grandfather. But then so eventually I met a few friends in high school, in elementary school. And also my brother was into graffiti. And so that just got me into that, all the whole street art scene and everything. And that was the first time I ever really fell in love with art. I mean, looking back on it, it was typography.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't know that. I just knew that I liked to draw letters in really cool, interesting ways.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to expand on that. What's up?
So I would see you kind of writing in your book and drawing cool work, right? So it was that and the graffiti that you liked, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was funny. I was always drawn to more it's called a hand style. So graffiti, there's different kind of categories of graffiti. The stuff most people know about is what you see on the side of a building, big block letters, 3D letters. I was always more interested in the tagging part. So just writing your name like a signature, which is what got me into calligraphy, because that's what calligraphy is. It's more of writing rather than drawing, right? So there's a couple different forms of lettering. You could draw your letters as if an artist would draw something, through the process of sketching and then tracing and then inking. Or you can do calligraphy, which is basically just doing, it's like handwriting. So that kind of interest I had in graffiti hand styles led into my interest in calligraphy. It kind of matured over time. And then once I got into calligraphy, that opened up the door to typography, and then opened up the whole door to just the design world. And that's kind of how I started. I was just always into letters throughout my entire life.
Is calligraphy, showing what I know, is calligraphy writing the words, and typography is like the art of like the individual letter. How are those different, or how they
Yeah,
relate?
yeah. So typography, you can get kind of tricky with this because some people are always going to disagree. It's all semantics, but to my understanding, typography is basically like the broad study of letter forms and type as a not just individual letters, but kind of how it all fits together. So creating fonts, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. That's typography. Calligraphy is really more like the art of doing it by hand. And even further than that, it's not just drawing letters, it's using like an individual stroke, like one stroke to write like the letter A, like cursive.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like calligraphy, rather taking your time to draw out a word over a course of hours. It's more about handwriting.
So like the like Compton style like writing, like if you were to do that on hand, that wouldn't be like in calligraphy. It's like all these were like the first letter of like a SpongeBob book. You know what I mean? Like it's really
Yeah, that's a good reference actually for that.
like
When he was writing right?
yeah.
That would be well, specifically that specific image would be kind of I'm drawing a blank on the exact name, but there's a specific name for that where you start the paragraph with a really big letter, and it was like usually in like old ancient scrolls it had a lot of that.
Mhm.
But that's lettering really, and calligraphy itself is typically just like single stroke writing, as if you're writing notes, handwriting, and learning how to like discipline your hand to be able to be consistent with it and stuff.
Mhm.
But it's really all just falls under the same umbrella of just letters and lettering,
So how
just
did you
kind of
go?
different methods.
Yeah. So how did you go from all that to making screenshots for apps? Those are
I know, kind of a weird
I thought you
transition.
got really deep into it, and now I'm like, okay, well, how did you end up over here? Like,
There, surprisingly, there's a logical path. So letters turned into logos, and logos turned into just design in general.
mhm,
And then it got to the point where I was a little bit out of high school, and I was just working odd jobs, whatever, ice cream shops, stuff like that. And
mhm,
then I realized I wanted a job as a designer somewhere, so I started looking, and then I applied to Gummy Cube where we worked at, you know, and then that was really, working at Gummy Cube was where I got my chops as just a graphic designer.
yeah.
I had experience with stuff like that beforehand, but that was where I learned how to be a professional, and I learned how to respect things like composition and key art and images. Because, like I said before, then I was really mainly just letters, maybe some icons here and there for a logo.
Mhm,
Gummy Cube is what kind of opened the doors for like a love for what you'd call key art, which is just what key art is because you're a photographer, but it's basically just an image that represents a brand or
mhm,
uh, an idea or a movie, whatever. So that's where I kind of developed a love for that.
mhm.
And so pretty much was just letters, logo, design, Gummy Cube,
Yeah.
which the App Store stuff.
Yeah. Right. So so on that note, then, so how did it go from like you're walking around, you see graffiti art, like the most street punk thing you could do, right? Most free form, to
Yeah.
then having to look at data all the time and to inform your how you
Oh,
do.
like what was that experience like?
Yeah, like did it help
Oh
you
man.
as a creative, or was it
Oh, 100%.
okay? Well,
Yeah, for sure helped me. I mean, I think anyone in life in general, when they have their mindset on doing something, when they actually do it, they realize it's not as glamorous as they wanted it to be.
mhm,
I think pretty much anyone goes through that at some point in their life. So of course I went through a little bit of that, like, oh, what is this? I'm just making clickbait and yada yada yada. But then I realized it's not just about that.
mhm,
There's actually a lot to learn here as far as psychology.
mm,
That's where I started to realize what it was. When you're looking at data sets, um, and big data, that's really just mass psychology broken down into numbers,
mhm,
which is one of a designer's greatest tools is if they understand how people perceive things and
mhm,
what people's preferences are. Because as a designer, it's always your job to communicate an idea or a concept as concisely, as clearly, and as interestingly as possible. And understanding how to like leverage data or to at least even just pay attention to it and know it's there, because before then I had no idea people did stuff like A/B testing. I
mhm.
had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
Um, and it opened doors for me. I realized that you can be creative while leveraging data. And then that's kind of like where you meet like the golden ground.
Yeah.
At least theoretically. As we know, things don't always go as predicted.
Yeah. Quick kind of like geeking out. And I wonder,
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably know about this, but if you don't, so I was on LinkedIn the other day, and someone posted like Apple announced they're offering A/B testing tools for, I think.
Yeah.
And
I
was
did hear about
like, whoa, game changer! Like, no, like this changed everything. You know, I was like, no one I know is understand why this is cool. Like, why it's such a big deal.
It's such a niche thing. It's hard to share that excitement with everyone. You know, you find certain people you can share it with. Yeah. It's interesting, man. It's interesting because there's a whole indie market that basically caused Apple to start doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure Apple wasn't focused on that when they first released the App Store.
Yeah.
But as humans, we want to optimize everything. And then businesses are born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then businesses are born like GummyCube, and then Apple being Apple, they want to do it for themselves. Doesn't surprise me, but it's kind of mind-blowing. You're right. That it's gotten to that point now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, testing thing is crazy because like I'm still trying to like learn, do want to do my photography thing, and even like little things I do on my website. Like, how can I make this a little bit more functional or a little bit more like well-oiled for people to make decisions? Right?
Yes. Yes.
And thinking like, oh, I need to get like I'll look at my Squarespace analytics and like compare. Okay, I got this many Instagram followers. How does this translate to sales, et cetera, et cetera? I'm like, oh, there's a pattern. Okay, I could see how the numbers work now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. That's cool. So that obviously is when you're doing that kind of work, you're kind of in that space, right? So when you leave that and go to a different room and you're able to free flow again, think about the stuff you learned data wise, where you more just like I'm just gonna feel what I feel, and that's what this is gonna be.
Yeah, dude, what an interesting question, because it's definitely a dichotomy.
Yeah.
There's a dichotomy within me or any artist who's exposed to stuff like that. On one side, you want to be completely analytical and just do what's proven. But then on the other side, you want to be creative and you want to, create something that maybe like no one's seen before, and you want that fulfillment of it working. But I think just in general, the best thing to do is just to find the middle ground. Let both sides of your brain talk to each other, and then kind of see what comes from that.
Yeah.
And also it's like you can almost just scale down everything we learned and I'll just do focus groups where it's just me. I'll create a couple variants for something. I'll give myself a couple days where I don't even think about it, and then I look at it again, and then I'm able to choose and be like, okay, well, I like this about this and this about this. Can we combine it? And that's like stuff I never would have done before. Because I was never super strategic like that before working in a professional environment. It was always more feel, or what did the client want.
Yeah. So like when the project we're working on, like that's when I was trying to put together everything last night. I was like, okay, I got to figure out like how I want this to look, but I don't know how. I don't know what I want. I just started like screenshotting a bunch of stuff, and then I narrowed it down and narrowed it down. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep it simple. I want these details, and I'm gonna custom make what I need because I can't figure out what it is. And I'm like, but there's a part where I'm like, I want to, because I understand when you don't give it direction. And you're like, oh, just be a free flow artist. It's annoying. You're like, oh, I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
I'm trying to derail it better. But then at one point I was like, okay, now I think this will be enough. I also do want you to be an artist, but like, okay, how do you?
You found the middle ground.
Yeah.
You found the middle ground really well, because you didn't say do this, only this, but you gave me guidelines, and you even gave me a little draft that was bland enough to not be influential. Right. It's like, but it got your ideas. Yes, exactly.
For sure.
You found the middle ground, and that's the goal. That's typically the goal.
Yeah. For everyone listening, so when me and Greg were working come together, it was a thing where you might have 100 projects a day that all are due yesterday, kind of thing. It just never ends. And so when you had to manage a project, you had to really make sure you knew exactly what was going to get done, the timeline was going to take, the objective, and you got to get very detail, and you have like 3 hours to figure it all out, and then you would do it, and then you just send it off and hope it all gets done, And when it didn't, you would then figure it out. And so I feel like
Yeah.
we really learned how to be good project managers. Uh,
Yes.
but the need for direction. So when you're hitting us up and you have projects and you don't really have a vision, you should ground that vision as best you can, because that will help. That will also help you if you're trying to get something right. Don't always let the artist just be an artist, because sometimes that doesn't always click.
Yes. It's the client also has a job. It's not just the one. It's not just the designer. Designers and clients have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I think the job is just to always communicate properly, and then try to be on the same page. Like you got to actively work towards being on the same page with each other. And that's something the client should do and the designer should do. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I want to ask you. So rewind to before I did that rant, right? You mentioned like, oh, when you're designing something, you want to have kind of both brains playing the art side, but maybe that data more structured side.
Yeah.
So how did that play into doing that like 3D bondage heart you did the other day,
The
which was very
3D
cool,
bondage
by the
chart.
way. I thought that was like, it was clean. It was very clean, but it was like,
Thank you.
oh, where did that come from?
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny that actually started as a draft for another project I was working on.
Okay.
It was the overlooked album artwork that I did, which was for my brother, and I was like just sketching out drafts because I was like thinking about like the song has to kind of do with love or whatever in a certain sense, like a restricted love in a certain sense. So I was kind of just thinking how I could visualize that. And if I'm being honest, for that specific piece, I think that's why I made it a personal piece.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there wasn't much really data behind that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really more just kind of like it was like a design exercise for me. I had the idea and I really liked it, but I didn't really have anything to use the idea for. So I was like, I'm just gonna finish it and then make it kind of like just like a fake album artwork piece.
Yeah.
That one was really all kind of just creative thinking, which is so important to have. Like I think it's important to give yourself some projects where you're like, I'm just gonna just do whatever I want, and who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a design exercise, really.
Yeah.
I don't know if I put too much analytical thought into that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
That's why I was like curious, just like, I wonder how that's played into you just when you think now about like, how do I make something, a little bit better?
I wouldn't doubt if it's played in subconsciously.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
I didn't actively think about it, anything like that though. There's probably parts of me knowing like, oh, these color combinations work good, yada yada yada, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Designer's intuition.
Yeah. How long have you been doing the 3D stuff? I didn't know you did that until like recently.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of just something I picked up maybe about, I want to say at this point, 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was just browsing Reddit and I saw something to do with like in the world of 3D modeling. There's this famous tutorial called the donut tutorial, and it's just this dude. His name is, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Andrew Price. His name is the Blender Guru, and he put together like a really comprehensive, concise, easy tutorial to kind of learn this whole program called Blender, which is a free 3D software program. And so yeah, I followed his tutorial, and I realized like, wow, now I can kind of craft a vision from the ground up, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
Like I no longer have to. I mean, you could do the same with photography. You probably had the same revelation when you first fell in love with photography, realizing like, wow, I can like feel something, and then capture an image of that, and I can build that image.
Yeah.
Right. And there's kind of like the sky's the limit. And that's kind of what I felt when I started getting into 3D modeling. It's like, wow, I'm kind of not limited by anything here. I can kind of make whatever I want, and it could look realistic too, easily and free. People at Blender are really great people. They release it's completely free. And I don't know too much about it, but like the CEO is some dude who's like, I don't care about money. I just want to make this free for everyone. It's important to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Completely free program, and it's like competitive with all the paid ones. It's really popular. Most people probably who've heard about 3D modeling know what it is. That's when I started. But yeah, about 2 years ago, 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
That's cool, man. So what are your goals? What are you trying to, because let's say you started with graffiti, the whole calligraphy typography thing, then we did a lot of design logo stuff, now this, like, are you just trying to be at the best digital artist you can be and you're just kind of renaissance spanning it, or like is there something you're trying to like I want to go down as the best, logo designer?
Well, I definitely don't feel like I want to go down as the best anything. I don't really care about that. Um, but right now I'm focused on key art, I want to say. So posters, album artwork, stuff like that. There's so many different fields you can go into with design, just like photography. There's so many different fields you can go into. And I realized I just needed to have a focus,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the company Gummy Cube, I still work for them part time right now, so I'm not fully committed to myself right now because I have to set aside time for them.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I think kind of the next move, at least what I've been plotting on, is key art. So
Mm-hmm.
for films, album artwork,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, posters, stuff like what you wanted. I don't know how much we could say about it, but what we're working on,
No,
stuff like that.
yeah, I'm excited for that project. I'm really excited.
Oh,
I want it.
I already got a bunch of variants.
Oh shit! Okay, definitely.
Yeah, man.
Because like you said, like you're really like I'm totally gassing, but like you're really good at what you do. By the time I saw your posters, I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
want something like that for this kind of project. 'Cause it's different. But I also
Mhm.
want to see, okay, if I just give you a bunch of my stuff, what can you do with that? I want to see
Yeah.
the potential of what I can do too, right? In a way, but how you could be good at a lot of things. I've learned I can only be good at a few things. So I just focus on those few things. Because when I try to do more, I'm like, okay, that's not gonna be as good as I could have been, right? So
You definitely can't spread yourself too thin. Yeah, like I said, that's what I felt too. I needed to focus,
yeah,
right? But man, when I got those assets from you, I was like, this reminds me of getting like the most beautiful assets from a client, and you're like, oh, the piece just makes itself.
yeah,
It just like you're gonna see it, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. It's cool. It's different, right? Which is why I trust myself. But
Hmm. I
well,
like it.
people will see that when it comes out.
People will see that. Sorry, folks. Locked down.
Right? Yeah. Um, well, so I know we're nearing time, so let me go and ask you one last question. Um,
Hmm.
being the designer you've been, super creative and technical and all that, to all the different programs you learned up to this point, what are some things you know now that you wish you knew when you were first getting started that would have probably saved you like so much stress and time when it came to like design?
Okay, I'm gonna think about that one. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I won't take too long because I know we're nearing time, but it's a great question.
Yeah.
I would say really just it's kind of a paradox, but I would say having confidence in your intuition as a designer. And I say it's a paradox because when you're first getting started, you don't have that intuition.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you build over time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading this book lately called Blink, which is all about kind of like how the human mind makes like thoughts subconsciously, or it makes decisions and analyzes things subconsciously within like a split second, like you don't even think about, which is why it's called Blink. And I've realized like a lot of times once you've been fully engrossed in something, like like we are as a designer, as a photographer, as an artist, whatever, you develop an intuition for it that sometimes you can't quantify it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't explain it. So I wish I would have realized that sooner, at least, to trust my intuition and not to overthink things. It's just like good food. Good design is just the basics boiled down to what they're meant to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it just makes sense. That's what I would say. So yeah, I wish I trusted my designer's intuition earlier, and it's still something I work on. But that's huge for me because people are good. People are good at what they do, and they don't realize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ditto on that.
Sir,
So, man, thanks for coming today, Greg. This was fun, man. It was good catching up with you.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me, Chris. I really enjoy this,
yeah,
and we gotta just talk for two because I gotta pick your mind now.
yeah, for sure. Wait, you want it now, or you said like off camera?
Oh, well, I have some questions for you. Yeah, if you have time.
Yeah,
Don't
for
think I
sure.
didn't come prepared to this.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. Me time. I loved that video.
Thank you.
I love that. And I have some questions about it.
Okay.
What was the significance of the statue? Because I noticed it almost seemed like you tried to draw a parallel between the subject and the statue, especially in like the opening shots.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it was definitely something. So the honest of it, right, was kind of like so. the backstory context is
Hmm.
Cheyenne, her name's Cheyenne Lockhart. Really great model. If you're a photographer, you should work with her. Um, we were doing a Pulp Fiction kind of inspired shoot originally,
Oh, okay.
and we got the looks we wanted within like the first 5 minutes. And we're like, okay, well, we gotta do other stuff now, right? So we're kind of trying new things, and that's like all in her room, right? It's
Okay.
Cheyenne's house, and it was just interesting because the more we were trying to do just like more moodier stuff, the more like the vibe of like the whole shoot was feeling good.
Mm.
Um, and it's like, oh, let's just record some video, right? Let's like try this out just to like see what we can do. We always do photos, we never do video. Um,
Yeah.
so at that time we wanted to do video. Um, I'm just looking for B-roll around the house and all that, and like just grabbing like the bed and the window and like stuff. When
For
it
sure.
came down to like the chopping of the editing, I was like, you know what? There's this whole idea of like you're this very beautiful person, but you're like super moody and all that. And so we're just showing the statue, and it's just like,
Mm.
and without trying to sound like artsy, because that's my intention wasn't to be like, oh, the statue inspires me to do this. Like, no, there's like none of that bullshit. It was like very like, this feels like a good contrast, and I feel like it could represent you. It feels right. Let's add this in, kind of thing.
Nice.
Right, like it was all improvised that like when we originally were shooting, and then as we got into it, then I started being more intentional, like with the matchbook and like putting the
Hmm.
cup down. Like once the juices were going, we are like, okay, let's put some rails back on this. um but originally it was just b-roll. It was just getting b-roll just to have,
Wow.
and then it was this this will fit better if we do this than the floor.
So you weren't even planning on doing that this short. It just kind of happened, bro. You said from inspiration in the moment.
Yeah, it's just something in the
Oh
moment.
man. Tell me that isn't the best.
It was cool, dude. It was a cool video. Yeah.
Isn't that the best, man? I really enjoyed that video. I also like the other the music video. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one you did recently.
The body bag
Um,
by
yes.
that was cool. That one was very planned. That was months in the making. A lot of coordination because originally when I was in San Jose is when I met this guy, and we were already talking about doing projects together and having something to do. And then I moved to San Diego, and in the
Hmm.
middle, which wasn't planned, right? Uh,
Gotcha.
and so in San Diego, and we're still doing like I'm doing podcasts with him, right? He has a lot of other
Hmm.
projects, and then I'm listening to one of his songs, like, hey, dude, I could do a music video for this. Can I do music video for this? Like, let's totally. I
Nice.
pitched it to him, right? The whole
Nice.
process still, but I really want to do this song. Like, I can already see something to it, and I've always liked music videos. Like, I think music videos are like the
Yeah.
coolest. Like, I think I've always
Yeah.
wanted to play
Yep.
music, but I think I wanted to play music to make music videos. Like now that I, in some way, think about it, I have to process a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to do a music video. I was itching for it, and I already found a song that I can actually like have some type of structure to it to feel like I know what I'm doing. And then we got that planned out. Cheyenne's also in that video. Um,
Gotcha.
and so that video, yeah, that's the backstory on that video. Great
Man,
video.
I love that. I mean, something I noticed from that too, because and then I started noticing it in a lot of your work. Is like, what's up with you and red? You really like red, don't you?
So there's no consistency in why. There's no consistency in thought. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when yeah, so everything was kind of unique. So the body bags music video, if you his name is Kevin, the chief, right? The guy did the video. He
Mhm.
likes the color red, and I knew that. And so when we were shooting, I knew I wanted something gritty and dark, but I was thinking more like oh, what's the music video? John Muir. I don't know, John Muir by Schoolboy Q. I don't know if you've seen.
Oh, I haven't. I haven't seen. I know who Schoolboy Q is. But yeah.
Yeah, so in the music video, it's just like this group of guys goes driving through LA, and it's just like a very
Okay.
like LA, like 8 p.m. nighttime blue kind of thing. Well, if you
Mm,
watch Floating with Tony Savage, the same one, like they have just this blue tint to it. That's
gotcha.
like that's I wanted to do that. That was the original vibe. But
Gotcha.
then when I was editing it, I was just messing around with colors and like, oh, maybe we should just do black and red, right? And like, oh,
Mm,
that looks good. And I know he likes red, so we're gonna do that. Just kind of immediately once I clicked, I was like, we're just gonna change the ship's direction. Um,
designer's intuition.
yeah, right.
You knew it. Yeah.
Me time. I mean, also is when I put gels on my light. I have a little like Drake cast kind of thing.
Oh, nice, sweet.
I'll put gels on it, and just red is the only one that looks cool. Like if you put blue or orange, it's gonna just look a different hue. If you put green on it, it's gonna look green. Like it just
Gotcha.
red you can throw into something and it gives it it looks red, but it looks like more of a vibe than it does a color. Right?
Wow, that was really well put, Chris.
For sure.
Jeez, I love that.
Yeah.
Red is more, more like a vibe than a color.
Yeah.
Really is. Because I love red too. It's just my favorite.
It works. Like I was in the studio the other day and just doing the studio the shoot we're working on, the project. And I don't think I sent you a photo, but I put a red gel on it and it just it looked pinkish reddish, but it gave it it just changed the ambiance, like it's just, but you put green, it's kind of like, okay, there's green on the person, like it just looks, I don't know, it just doesn't, it
must have something to do with red being part of like our skin tones naturally.
Maybe
must be subconsciously we're a little more comfortable with it. I don't know, but I noticed you really like red, and I do too, so I was curious as to why.
Yeah, it probably, there's a music video. Well, I didn't do the music video. His name is Weapon Rex. The shoot I kind of like. So there's a documentary like interview I did with Set Fire to the Sky, and if you look at that, it's also black and red. And I'm wondering if like that influenced me. I was there for the shoot, and that's the first time I actually seen someone really use lights like the way he did.
Oh, okay.
Usually, if I've ever seen lights, I never seen continuous lights. I always see strobes from photographers, and they would look the same. So someone like set up of a full on scene. I'm wondering, I wonder if that influenced me. But I also
probably did.
But he does a really good job. Like he does like music videos, but it's like horror music videos. It's like really dope.
Got you. But, I feel like that definitely influenced you. I think we're influenced by everything we see, which is why it's so important to feed your mind good things. Like if you're into photography, you got to feed your mind good photography. If you're into design, you got to feed your mind good design. Because we just pull it from everything.
Yeah.
All right. One last question I have that I wrote down was, how did the name KDigitals come about?
Yeah, that one's easy. So, we're talking about like 2013, 2014. A buddy of mine, Daniel Ramirez, so he's kind of one of the people that got me into photography. Like there's a few people, but he's one of like the like key people. Like without him, it wouldn't have happened. I brought my first camera from him. Like it's a whole thing. So we did photography. We would just go around shooting together. I'm like, oh, we should come up with like we'll make our own page. Was I already going by KDigitals? Yeah, I think it was. So we were gonna create our own page together where we share both our photos. And in LA, like Santa Monica, there's a donut shop called DK Donuts. And so it's like one of those like gourmet donuts. Like you get like, a glazed donut with pink frosting, like Reese's Pieces cereal on it. Like one of those.
Yeah. Okay.
And so Daniel and Chris with a K, like, oh, we'll call it DK Digitals. Right.
Oh.
And then I just dropped the D to my own page and called it KDigitals. But I think that's where it came from. Cause I want to say I got it before that, but I can't remember what my Instagram name was back in, 2008 or 9 or 10, like.
Oh, okay. So it must have been that then. Right.
I remember like the DK Digitals was such a thing. Like at that time, like that, just saying it felt nice to say. Like now KDigitals feels like it's a weird hiccup, but DK rolls better.
Really? I think KDigitals sounds amazing. That's funny because I think the exact opposite. I like KDigitals way more than DK-Digitals. I think KDigitals, because K is such it has so much pop to it.
Yeah.
KDigitals. It's easy, man. It's a great name. It's a great name. No, you're lucky.
Stuck. Yeah, appreciate that. So I think
man.
that's how it happened. Yeah.
Sweet. Nice. That's pretty much, I mean,
questions. Yeah.
I think I know everything about you now. No. So much more to learn.
We pretty much lived together when you think about it. Like how much we worked.
Oh man. Yeah, you're right actually. Yeah. You could consider that.
Good hustle. For sure. Cool, man. Well, hey Greg, where can people follow you? Where can they see your work?
Website, www.gdd.media. I post everything there first usually. Instagram, Gregory Diaz, Gregory with 2 Y's, Diaz with 2 Z's. Twitter's the same as that. Reddit's the same as that. If you just search Greg Diaz Design on Google, I'm trying to get my SEO chops going. I don't know it all yet, but if you just search that, I think my website pops up.
Yeah.
That's me posting stuff as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. Well, thanks for joining me, Greg, and thank you for everyone that joined today. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and you'll hear from me again. See you, everybody.
Peace.